What's up, folks? I am Jayme Bedingfield, and you are listening to my podcast, Too Many Words, a community for writers and readers, snackers, and daydreamers. This is the first of the new schedule we are trying on for size. New episodes come to you on Mondays now instead of Thursdays. So make sure you're subscribed to me on iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify or wherever you listen so you don't miss an episode. And Patreon supporters, you will now get early episodes on Fridays, and exclusive mini episodes will move to Wednesdays. And that will all be listed on patreon.com/too-many-words and my site, tmwpod.com. And now I'm going to get right into it today. I am here with friend of the show, Oli Jacobs.
Hello.
Oli, since this is like your fourth or fifth time coming on the show, I think at this point you're like a guest co-host. I mean, I feel like we're in this together.
It's starting to feel that way, yeah. I think this is the fourth time as far as memory serves.
Okay.
Then again, my memory is... And again, we're back into the kind of thing of like, I think both of us so much say like,
yep. No, I think you're right. I think it is the fourth time.
Always willing to shill myself and my work as always, nice. And shamelessly promote myself. So yes, hello.
It's got to be done.
Always. Absolutely always.
Oh, and thank you so much for the artist recommendation. Lane Will is working on a new logo for Too Many Words. I'm super excited.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, for those who don't follow the Facebook for Too Many Words, which you totally should.
Thank you.
That's all right. Like it now. Yeah, I basically recommend two artists that I use for my covers. Sorry, I'm eating as well at the same time, so do excuse me. CM Carter, who's done majority of my Kirk Sandblasters, Filmic Cuts, and those sort of things. He's a very good, very unique artist. And Elaine Will, who has done the award-winning Look Straight Ahead, recently released Dust-Ship Glory and Arcade graphic novels, which are all incredibly good, and I recommend you look them out. But yeah, both of them absolutely fantastic artists, and always the first name that comes to mind when somebody says to me, or I see somebody saying, does anybody know any good artists? Like, boom, done, these two.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and with the new logo will come some podcast t-shirts and mugs and stuff. So,
so you say t-shirts. I'm a sucker for a t-shirt. I've got about 150 t-shirts.
I'm also a sucker for t-shirts. I love to find the extra good ones and then wear them all out in all the best places and just call it style.
You've actually just reminded me I need to go on this website. I recently got there's an English website. I don't know if there is an American equivalent that does like pop culture t-shirts. The most popular one is Dark Bunny Tees, of course. But I found one called 8 Ball t-shirts, and they have Simpsons ones.
Oh, nice.
And that's it. As soon as you bring in something Simpsons, then you pretty much got me. And they did one which is basically the Springfield chili cook-off. Oh, it's phenomenal.
I gotta check it out.
I will link you it, and you will probably spend most, if not all, your money. But yeah, anything Simpsons, you can pretty much guarantee that I'll be there, and I'll whacked out. I mean, I keep seeing it. It always depends, but on Facebook you get like the ads.
Oh yeah.
It's like, of course, because my love of Simpsons and Simpsons t-shirts, I keep seeing ones for like Super Nintendo Charmers, and the thing, of course, at the moment that's become quite meme-worthy is, of course, the steamed hams. I don't know if you remember. I think it was on 22 short films about Springfield.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's where Superintendent Chalmers goes to Principal Skinner's house for dinner, and Principal Skinner burns the food, so he sneaks off and gets Krusty Burgers, which he calls steamed hams. Which, one of the famous lines, why are they called steamed hams when they're quite obviously grilled? But it's got one of my favourite Simpsons moments ever at the end of it, where, because, like I say, the food burns at the beginning, but then it starts a fire in the kitchen. if you know The Simpsons, you know that Skinner's always trying to impress Chalmers, who is just completely unimpressed all the time with him. And so he's like, Seymour, you're a strange fellow, but you do steam a good ham. He turns around and he sees that there's a fire in Seymour's house, and he's like, good God, what is that? Skinner's like, Aurora Borealis. Aurora Borealis. At this time of day, at this time of year, located entirely within your kitchen. Yes. May I see it? No. And yeah, one of the I absolutely, like I said, I followed a Twitter. There was like a Twitter thread the other day of lesser known Simpsons moments, and just revisiting some of the glory on there is yes.
My oldest is getting really into The Simpsons, and she started watching the first season, and rewatching those episodes is just it's so comforting.
It's weird because you watch them and they're good, but they're not great. But you know that the great ones are coming up, and it's surprising when you remember how early it really started hitting its stride.
Yeah, I would say around season 3 it really started nailing them out of the park.
Well, I'm just wondering because I actually one time I got a Simpsons box set, and it was quite possibly the best one ever. It was season 8, which surprises me because that seems quite late. But the problem is, it has quite possibly some of the best episodes in it. It has Treehouse of Horror 7, which is the one which has Kang Kodos as Bill Clinton and Bob Dole.
Oh, that one's amazing.
And again, one of my favourite lines from that is like, abortions for all. Boo! Okay. No abortions for anyone. Boo! Abortions for some. Tiny American flags for everyone. Yay! And yeah, seriously, we could spend a whole podcast on me doing Simpsons quotes, but
that'd be interesting.
I think this will be my 5th or 6th appearance. We'll just be us doing our favourite Simpsons.
I apologize in advance if I cough in your ear. I'm kicking this cold. I was recording an episode with Carrie Luna last week, and I was letting her know that I was getting a cold. Oh no, it's not the cold. We all got hit with the flu.
Yeah, I saw. It's how are you? Obviously, everyone's alive. Fantastic. Always good.
Yes.
But we're recording this on Friday the 13th as well, so I think it's kind of apt that this is the one where the cold is most prevalent.
Right? The flu, it feels like, so this is the second time we've got it this year, and it's sneakier now than it used to be, and I don't know. I let my fiction brain think about the flu and the vaccine and now the prescribed flu medicine, and, you know, I don't think we're far from, like, what, you know, zombies wouldn't happen, but something like it.
Some sort of pandemic, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's not outside the realm of possibilities.
You're seeing a lot more. What is it? Excuse me again. I'm just eating while doing this podcast.
No worries. I'm coughing.
We're seeing. I think it's a lot more dystopian or post-apocalyptic fiction is moving away from this idea, because I think zombies have. I mean, I think we talked about The Walking Dead last time and how that's beginning to lose itself a little bit.
Oh, more than. I mean, I stopped watching it.
Yeah.
To get me to stop watching it, really, I mean, it speaks volumes. I mean, not to make me sound self-important, just I was that much of a fan. So when I'm like, finally, I'm done, I'm no longer interested, and I'm just getting mad as a writer because they're doing all these things that my editor would never let me get away with.
When you're watching a show and you're watching something like that, and yeah, you start to kind of, instead of just simply enjoying it, you're almost picking it apart because you're seeing the negative stuff in it, not because you know what the negative stuff is, but simply because it's so bloody obvious. And yeah, I think because I've had that with Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we discussed that last time as well, where something like Game of Thrones, I think almost all event TV, it's that one issue that I think is coming with it. Everybody loves it, but I think you go on too much and you get to the point of you're going to start making errors. You're going to start losing quality. I think stuff like Breaking Bad, what else am I thinking? like The Wire as well.
Yeah.
In comparison, they had very much limited runs.
It's true.
And because of that, they're lauded, quite frankly. They are seen as really, really good. It's interesting because I think something that comes to mind is The West Wing, which started to hit that, because I think in its later seasons it was just kind of like, but then it ended. So it kind of almost survived that thing. I mean,
there's a passion that it almost like gets lost. And I mean, at least, I think my issues with, like, as far as like, if I can point to my issues with Game of Thrones and Walking Dead, they're slightly different. With Walking Dead, it stopped being about the characters. And it was
that's the thing. I think going back as well, what we're saying about the whole zombie trope, really, is getting tired. It is becoming a little bit kind of, well, this is what happens. This is how they deal with it. There's nothing that's new. There's nothing that's different. It's almost kind of like, do you know what I'm finding as well is that the thing that they decided would be new and reinvigorate the genre is everybody's an arsehole. Everybody's either trying to kill you, rape you, eat you, or just basically like, well, I'm going to shove you in front of a zombie. Why? There's like miles of space around us and the zombie's only there. Yeah, but die. Because that's what happens in the post-apocalypse. The more I think about it, and I've actually got, there is a book idea that I'm working on. It's not a zombie apocalypse, but it's kind of just one of these like end of the world type things. It used to be an idea called I Feel Fine, based on the REM song. And it was literally just a guy who's like, oh my God, the world's ending. He's like, give a crap. I'm just going to spend the end of the world just kind of going about my usual thing, drinking, eating, and doing whatever, and not really bothering anything. Which I think that's how I do the apocalypse. It's like the world's going to end. It's like, all right.
I guess for me, I think it would depend, like, what's happening. I mean, like, I'm just so high strung. So, like, if anything changes, like my schedule changes that day, and I'm all like, I have to reorganize myself. So it's like, depending on how I find out that the apocalypse is happening and how it's happening, I think would really determine how I react. If it's going to be like a light goes out kind of thing, then I think I might chill. But if like everybody's, reacting to some sort of like demon that's finally sprouted up from the center of the earth or whatever, I don't know what I would do. I don't think it would be chill though.
It is difficult to say, and I think that's one of the challenges obviously writers such as ourselves have when we write this sort of fiction. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything that I'm writing at the moment. Yeah, I'm not really working on anything dystopian at the moment, but it is one of my preferred genres. I do like doing dystopian fiction because it is always quite fun. And it's very much, as I said before, I'm a Stephen King fan, who's done a lot of like apocalyptic fiction, like with The Stand, Cell. I mean, actually, we're talking about reinventing zombies. Cell was actually a really good way. In Cell, there's a signal that goes through phones that turn people into like violent maniacs. So less shuffling zombies, more crazed 28 days later, like infected, I suppose.
Okay. I actually just finished reading a book that kind of has that. It's Breaking the World by Jerry Gordon. It comes out next Thursday, April 19th. Yeah, a pandemic is happening, and they're crazed and violent, but they're not brainless. They're still intelligent.
Yeah, I'm just looking up now. Interesting.
Really good.
I will look.
And it couples that with having characters that are believed to be in a cult.
Well, immediately I've seen that it's uses Waco as its inspiration, so that's going on the Amazon wish list. So Jerry, if you're listening, I'm interested.
Yeah, it's really good. It's I just finished it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So already we've got me kind of taking another book to the list. This always happens when I come on as well.
Well, it happens to me all the time. My list only gets longer and longer. I just read all the books. I mean, so when you're writing hard, do you write what scares you?
Like I say, super professional eating iced-bun. Kind of, yeah. I think there has to be that element of fear when you're doing your writing. If it's not something the best horror that I write is the ones where, as I'm writing it, and if I'm writing it late at night, I'm aware that the door's open and that the light isn't on the other side and that it's dark and holy crap, why is my imagination now taunting me? So yeah, I think it's not what scares me almost. It's interesting because I think a lot of horror is written with the fear in mind. Like I say, massive Lovecraft fan. And he obviously had like the fear of the unknown or the dreams and stuff like that. One of the things sorry.
Oh, I didn't say anything. I was
I was the voices in my head as always. All right, cool.
Yeah, I have those too.
They're great, aren't they?
Well, when they make compelling characters, yes.
Oh, incredibly compelling. And that's one great thing about writing is when you've kind of got this you're doing a story and it's just constant voices, especially if there's a large cast. It's just like so many people saying so many different things all at the same time. You're just kind of like, shit.
Yes.
Well, I'd like a little bit of time just to kind of do something other than everything at the moment. But
I don't know. I think my ideas are all about I don't know. I feel like when I get an idea, it's so much more complicated than it needs to be, but it's the one that I have. Although right now I'm drafting a 5-person perspective novel, and it's all first-person perspectives, and I'm jumping from one. They're all coming together and telling one story. And when I realized that this is what how I was going to be writing it, I was really nervous because I was just like, this is. You're not going to pull this off. It's actually really fun because everybody's getting their lens on it, and it's flowing much more than I thought it would be. Pleasant surprise, because the book that's in revisions right now is just a monster in every phase.
I've to be honest, I've done that with. I recently finished my horror book called Wilthaven, which has multiple different perspectives because it was done in the style of a government agency file. So it's literally a file full of these different. It's effectively like a short story collection, but with an overall narrative. So you've got basically this secret government agency, to use the trope, who look into paranormal or strange dimensions. It's kind of inspired by the SCP Foundation, which is a popular horror fiction website. But with Wilthaven, it's the overall story is this town which is ruled by a demigod or a god or some sort of eldritch abomination. And it's actually a horror comedy because it's all about how the villagers are totally used to this. We're ruled over by a god who randomly puts mountains in our faces. It's like you wake up one day, withdraw your curtains, and there's a desert in front of you where there used to be a park, and you're just like, well, that's new.
That sounds amazing. When is that coming out?
Don't know yet.
Okay, you gotta keep me posted. I want to.
Yeah, there are some materials on my website, which is olijacobsauthor.wordpress.com. So there are like a few bits on there. I mean, just having a look now, there's like some reports, police reports, in-depth operation reports, that sort of thing. Because basically it is just, like I say, it's different files, it's different materials. There's like police reports, newspaper articles, transcripts of radio shows and TV materials. So all these different things which all come together to do this overall arc of what's happening in this small town. And yeah, it's like I said, I've recently finished it. There's probably still more to it. I'm thinking, obviously, I'd love to release it as a book, but I'm thinking at the moment it may be part of my new plan for my website, which is what I'm kind of researching now, and I suppose almost some sort of, maybe some form of an announcement, because that sounds so pretentious. Doesn't it? I was like, I'd like to announce, by the by. Seriously, just do your thing and do it. No, I'm rejigging my website so that I'm going to serialize stuff on there.
Oh, nice.
So I recently sent out a survey to some of my known readers who I know. Opinion, like, do you read? What's the best way to read, like in terms of style? But yeah, so it is going to be stuff like short stories. Kirk Sandblaster is the big one. Obviously, for those who do follow my work or know of my work, Kirk Sandblaster is one of the main series I work on. And yeah, that will be new stories will be serialized through my website. You'll probably have the first 5, which is, of course, Space Adventurer. That's interesting. So Space Adventurer, Ice Pirates, Game of Uria, what comes next? Tetrageddon and Montague Santiago. They are the 5 that you can buy in paperback and Kindle digital at the moment. But then you've effectively got the rest of the series will come after that. So you've got Lars World War, Protocol 9, and Kirk Sandblaster Faces the End, which is, and then the series 1, as I like to say, will come to an end, as it were. And that's all I'll say about Kirk Sandblaster. That's actually what I'm working on at the moment.
How's it going?
It's going well, actually. I've done the first 3 chapters.
Nice.
They flowed rather excellently.
Don't you love it when that happens?
Oh, it's so satisfying when you can just bash out 2,000 words.
It's amazing.
With ease.
Yeah. No,
you don't think about it. It just happens.
Mm-hmm. It's so nice.
But it did involve me kind of like, because I got to a point with the chapter and I was like, it needs a bit more meat to it. So I was like, oh no, I'll do a homage to 2001, which is one of my favourite films by one of my favourite filmmakers, old Stanley Kubrick, who also is somebody who some may find problematic. But yeah, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna bulk this up by throwing a 2001 parody in there. And it's not much of a spoiler to kind of describe the scene, but it's basically a parody of the scene. You know when? Have you seen 2001?
No, I have not.
Ah,
what is it?
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, okay, yes. No, I've seen it.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm sorry. You're saying 2001, and I just kept picturing the Backstreet Boys.
Well, that says everything, I think. Although I can relate to that weirdly. It's like, yeah, 2001, Backstreet Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Just why? Why do they come into mind?
I know, 2001, I was 14, and I was very much into the Backstreet Boys. So it's like, yeah, 2001 is just going to make me think pop culture and, bleached tips on dudes' hair.
Oh,
that kind
God, that was the thing of 2001.
That was all that was in my school. Yeah.
See, I was 17.
Okay.
In 2001. Oh, the dog's up. You going or you staying? So I should say to any listeners, my dog is with me at the moment.
That's why you make such a good friend of the show, because I'm surrounded by mine.
Oh no, she's coming back. Right. So yeah, 2001. There's a scene where
the movie, not the terrible year with bad fashion choices.
Not the terrible year with bad fashion choices. The seminal sci-fi film by Stanley Kubrick, written by Arthur C. Clarke. God, I sounded so wanky then. Actually, I think I'm fine. So, yeah, 2001, there's the scene where Dave is shutting down the rogue Hal, and he does this by doing a spacewalk to where... No, it's not a spacewalk, but he's basically in zero gravity where Hal's brain effectively is. It's all these little data boards and that sort of thing. And so I did a parody of that, and of course famously in the scene you got the Hal starts singing Daisy, 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 give me your answer do, as he's shutting down. So it's like, yeah, anything like that. So I was like, okay, I'm doing that. I'd like to throw in. So it was actually a callback to something earlier in one of the earlier Kirk Sandblaster books, where it was like, oh, I can sing you a song. It's like, yes, Navi, sing me a song. If you want to be my lover, Yeah, I get weird, and it weirdly worked. The weird thing is, like, the lyrics that I did weirdly worked. So that's something to look forward to in the new book. But yeah, 3 chapters in, the rest is plotted. Just needs me to actually sit down, crack the knuckles, and actually write it. But yeah, then that will be coming to my website very soon.
That's awesome.
It's all right.
So do you outline, and like you said, plotted? So do you put it down on paper? Do you like plan on paper before you actually go into drafting?
I've started doing so. Yeah, I've become one of those. It's the right cliche of they've always got a notepad, and I don't know about you. I have 3 notepads, all with varying levels of ideas and other miscellaneous scribblings. But yeah, with a lot of like Wildhaven, especially Kirk Sandblaster, other books as well, book ideas that I've got. So I'll have an idea and I will jot it down. When I used to work in a pub, actually, when it was quiet, I just kind of like stand at the bar and just kind of jot down ideas as they came to me. And usually, most of the time, it was a good chance to like put down the bare bones, as it were. So what I always used to do was, like, one of my earlier techniques was to plot chapters with a single word. So you'd have something that would happen and you'd define it with like single words. So ambush or potatoes or duvet or something like that. Something that's essentially the theme of that chapter. And then what I've started to do is like do like descriptive lines. So just a single line, a short sentence, because I realised that the words weren't reminding me well enough of what the hell I was writing. I'd like write down the words and be like, yes, this makes perfect sense. And then a couple of months later, I was like, what the hell is this? Like Kirk Sandblaster is a great example of that. I've got documents of about 8 or 9 different stories that I plotted out with like single words, and I've gone back to it and I've kind of gone, what the hell is this? So I've evolved my plotting style, as it were, to like a single sentence. Yeah, just to kind of explain again, my style of plotting is obviously single sentence, describing each chapter. Then you bulk that out into a more detailed paragraph, or you break it down, as I've done at the moment, with like the main thing that happens in the chapter and then other little bullet points describing each main beat.
Okay.
Like I said, the paragraph thing actually is something I'm applying to. I've got my document, which I call the list, which has all my book ideas on it.
Okay.
Like every single one. Depending how inspired I am at the moment, I will go through each one and write a paragraph per chapter. So you've got, for a document that is effectively all plotting and no actual main writing, it is about the length of a book at the moment, simply because I've got all of Kirk Sandblaster, which is 24 books. I've got all of Mr. Blank, which I started with the book Wrapped Up in Nothing. That's 6 books. I've got, like I say, a couple of other standalone stuff. I've got tentative sequels to Strange Days in High Wycombe. Basically I've got all these different stories that at the time I'm really into the idea, so I've written it down and I jotted down what I want in the story. And of course, as I think any writer would say, these ideas evolve all the time. They're only set in stone once you've completed them, once you've written the story, you've written it out completely. Until then, they exist as they are.
That's a good way to put it.
They're an idea. They're always going to be an idea until you write that first chapter.
I don't know how you feel about it now, but like I remember like, back a whole bunch of years ago when I would get an idea, I would just, get so excited that I got an idea. But now it's like, it's so much the journey and the
Absolutely, definitely. It's I don't think that thrill of a new idea has gone, if I'm honest. It's still that kind of like, I really like that, yeah. But the thing I've got at the moment is that revolving around those ideas. So it may not be that I'm excited about a new idea. Obviously, those still happen.
Yeah.
Deep Down There, which is the book I'm funding at the moment through Unbound.
Yeah.
That was very much a new idea. That was born probably summer last year. But that's also a good example of how stories evolve, in that it was originally a short story. 15,000 words, I think, was what I planned in my head. Wasn't going to be a long narrative. But once I jotted down the bullet points of how the story evolved, and once I started writing these bullet points out in a narrative form, so I actually started writing the story, realised there was a lot more to each beat, each story beat, each point than I was actually aware of before. So what became a 15,000 word short story, I think ended up at about 65,000 words. And yeah, ended up submitting it to Unbound, who are an English publisher, independent publisher and yeah, so it's gone from there. I think, yeah, you have, for example, I mean, today was a good example in that I was saying to somebody I work with at the moment is an aspiring author. In the, obviously, I come from I don't know if you're the same, but there's always these people who say, "Oh, yeah, I wish I was a real writer," or "Oh, I'm an aspiring writer," and you kind of say to them, "It's like, well, have you written anything?" And they're like, "Yeah, I've written this book or this story. I don't know whether it's," and it's like, well, you're a writer. If you've written something to completion, you are by definition a writer. You've written something. I don't think you should put yourself down by saying you're aspiring. You have.
Yeah, totally. Well, it feels like, we know how it is. When I hear people say that, I correct them too, because it's like it always helps the extra encouragement, because it can get a little wacky in there.
Oh yeah. Sorry, one sec.
It's okay.
Folks. Jamie's coughing. I'm eating. It's. I think I don't know about yourself, but I do get a bit discouraged because I don't have that constant sounding board. I have it's weird. It's like it's almost parallel to my depression as well, which is that there's people who want to listen, but it's approaching people. I can't approach somebody and say, "Can I talk about my writing to you?" Because I don't know if they're interested. I don't know if they got the time. It's like people say, "Oh, you can talk to me at any point." Like about depression, about writing, and it's like, well, it's not as easy as that. I can't just turn around to you and go, "Oh, I've got this idea. Oh my God, I need to speak to you about it." I mean, I can do that with my wife, as I'm sure you can with your husband.
Yeah.
But there's still that tentativeness. So when I do meet people who are into writing and into crafting narratives and stuff like that and talking about them, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's like when I got picked up by Unbound, I joined the Unbound Social Club on Facebook. Great group of people, very supportive, some really good books they're looking to fund themselves. So absolutely across the board, brilliant. I would, like I say, I recommend so many books, which I'll probably start doing through the. So I've got the hiccups now. Probably start doing through them. It's difficult because it's a closed group to only Unbound authors. I can't say, "Oh yeah, go and join the conversation." It's like, just keep an eye out on the Twitters and stuff like that of just people kind of going, "Yes, these are people who are awesome," and such like.
But community is it's so important.
Yeah.
Because it is. Writing is so isolating so much of the time, and it is, this, it's manipulating perspective a lot, and that can be harder some days than others. And it's kind of, what this podcast has kind of turned into for me is kind of a way to build a writing community.
I think it is difficult as well because there's still that. I think most writers anyway, are the anxious kind of like people in the shadows going like, "I've got all these stories." I think otherwise they'd be filmmakers. It's almost like the writers are the nerds, the geeks, which is a term I absolutely fucking loathe. The filmmakers are the jocks. The musicians are kind of like the cool outcasts.
I was gonna say, I think they're still the musicians.
Yeah, they're the brooding ones. They're like, ugh.
I think I'm a little brooding.
Oh, I'm not saying writers aren't brooding. My God, if you think writers aren't brooding, then I guess, Jesus Christ! Why do you think we isolate ourselves? That's why we're writers. So it's how I know that's why I became a writer. I was trying to do the filmmaking thing, but I had to work with other people, so I decided, bugger that. I'm going to lock myself in my bedroom and write a sci-fi comedy. So yeah. But no, I mean, going back to what I was saying about this person I work with, they're like, yeah, I've always wanted to write a novel. And my stock answer, whenever somebody's like, I really would like to write a book, is, well, write a book then. You want to write a book? I don't think enough people get that encouragement, because there is that idea. It's almost like a cliche. It's like, I really want to write a book. It's like, well, cool, write it. Yeah. So with him, it's like, look, tell me your story. What's your story? I'm interested. I want to know. I will critique. I will give you my feedback. And I did it with a friend of mine recently as well. They were like, I've got this idea for a book. And I'm like, well, cool. I mean, one thing I'm always honest with is, because when you say stuff like that, when you are doing the encouragement thing, then the token thing that comes back is, will you read something for me?
Yeah.
Now, I'm always honest in that I'm happy to talk to you about it. I'm happy to give advice. And you can send me something to read, but if it's over like 1,000, 2,000 words, I'm probably not going to read it.
Yeah.
And that's not indicative of the quality of your work. That is indicative of the time I have where I'm balancing having an actual life, the 9 to 5, writing my own stories, and yeah. So it's like I mean, that's why if I go full blown critique, if it's something like, look, I've got this document I want you to read over, it's like, that's the point where I have to be the proofreader. I have to be the professional and say, right, I'm going to have to charge you money for this because it's something I have to do out of my time.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
And again, it's not indicative of quality.
No, definitely not.
It's being snooty, it's being anything like that. Like I say, with this person I work with, they actually came back off their holiday because they said, I'm going on holiday, I'm going to do some writing. I'm like, perfect, excellent, great time to do the writing. Oh, the dog's back. Hello. Sorry, 1 second. I'm having to adjust myself because the dog's kind of standing in my face now. But yeah, he came back and it was literally just an A4 piece of paper with the idea on it, which is perfect because it's something quick, something easy, something that I can quickly give feedback on. And it was so nice. I believe in positive reinforcement, which isn't, you don't kiss somebody's ass. You don't say this is perfect because that doesn't help.
No, it doesn't help, and it's not true.
You say, you kind of, with this, it was like he put out 6 chapters, and you'll understand what I mean by this, in that he'd written most of the book in these 6 chapters. And I was like, dude, slow down. I know you've got so much story to tell, but you've already got a lot of story here that almost disrespects the story by rushing through it.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it. We talked over ideas. We broke it down. And that's something I like doing with people, is breaking down. It's basically like, right, so in this chapter, for example, it was like, first chapter, establish person's life. Second chapter is the break to the equilibrium. Third chapter is, and I'm like, whoa, take a breath, slow down. This is, to me, like, I think, for example, right, let's do the example. The example is kind of like, I don't know, you've got just the superhero thing. It's like, chapter 1, you have the origin story. Chapter 2, the villain turns up. Chapter 3, they have the fight. Chapter 4, well, you've kind of burned through the narrative there. Mm-hmm. So it's like, right, in those early chapters, set up the scene, set up your Chekhov's guns, as it were, your little things. So this was about I think his story was about somebody who's disorientated with modern life. It's that kind of the only sane man trope.
Okay.
So I was like, right, instead of going first chapter is him, second chapter, third chapter goes to see a psychiatrist. It's like, right, dial it back. First chapter, you can set up the scene, that's absolutely fine. First chapters are always that sort of thing. So set up your world, set up your character, set up the everyday, but leave maybe little chinks of the armor, little chips to show that he is somebody who is aggravated by modern life. Perfect, yeah, grand, do that. Second chapter, you have that catalyst, that point where, like, maybe that major thing, we've had a little chip, so, the neighbour's a bit loud upstairs, or my bus is always late, or, like, the minor inconveniences we have in life.
Right.
Third chapter, have something like, you're given this major project, which is really stressful, and it's a big thing, and a big inconvenience. This isn't something that you can just kind of shrug off or growl at. This is something like, oh my god, now I'm sweating and panicking and da 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 da. Have that as your second chapter. That's a lot. You could put a lot into that. You can put a lot of dialogue, because I think people forget how much story comes from dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I think people get too much in, got to do the bang, bang, bang. This is what happens. And then I said to him, right, third chapter, you've had this big stressful thing happen. Resolve that in the third chapter, but have something small set it off. It's something that I love doing in my... So I equated it similar to why I like writing both horror and comedy. Build to that crescendo, literally like so you get to this, it's like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and you're at that point, and it's like, and then release.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh well, that's solved, that's absolutely fine, we're back to 1 again, and then hit 10 straight back. With horror and comedy, it works in a similar vein. With comedy, it's that little punchline that comes just after. So with the example that I was saying to him was like, you have the minor inconveniences, neighbour's a bit loud, oh, that dog's pooed on the pavement again, little things that shouldn't really bother you. Like they ran out of bacon at the shop. It's like, love bacon. The major thing, the big projects, like, I'm giving you this big project. Okay, what are you doing about it? It's literally just giving it to me. I know, but I need answers. I don't know. But then you resolve that. And my suggestion to him was like, okay, he's resolved that. So he's like, would you like a coffee? Yes. There's no sugar! And that's what works.
Mm-hmm. Managing the tension and the release. It's definitely a thing.
Exactly. It's horror and comedy serve very much the same way. It's about building up that scenario, then... Sorry, excuse me.
I gave you my cough.
So I think a bit of my food's actually gone down my lungs.
Oh. Oh, do you need water?
I think I need a new lung. But yeah, it's that build, release, and then hit. It works. It's like, it's not so much, because it kind of puts you on edge. It puts you on that kind of, like, with horror, you're building tension in a scene. You're building it up. You're building, like, anticipation and fear and stuff like that. And then to build that, then you kind of go with that false sense of security, and you think, actually, it's all right. It's like, deep, it's that exhale moment. Mm-hmm. And then when you hit, it has more effect, in my point. And it's the same with comedy. You build up to the punchline, you build up, and again, there's that anticipation, there's that kind of build, that's that kind of, like, you're waiting. I think modern comedy is like, you're waiting for that punchline, and then it doesn't really come. It kind of, it's like, okay, yeah, that's pretty funny. And then you hit them with the line, which is just kind of like, holy crap. And then I can't give an example at the moment, because with comedy, with wit, I don't think it can be manufactured. Well, it has to come naturally. So, okay, this will be the first podcast where somebody died, I think.
Hopefully not.
I don't know. I tell you what, you get hits and listens. It's viral. Isn't that what we're supposed to do online now? Become viral?
Yes, but not at the cost of life. Put that on a t-shirt. There
you go. There's your too many words.
Let's go viral without...
Viral, but not at the cost of life.
Somehow that plays into the pandemic that we were just talking about earlier.
Do you know what? Once again, we seem. I've noticed this whenever we do the podcast. It's like because we're just about to hit the hour mark, I think. And once again, we seem to have gone full circle.
It's true. No, there's a rhythm that happens that we're on point without meaning to be. We brought it right back around. We just do that.
We have. And I was going to say, remember we were speaking about doing this on Friday the 13th, which is when we're recording this.
Yes.
And I think we're both kind of saying, oh yeah, maybe we should theme it. Once again, like I say, I've really enjoyed. I would love to say chat, but it's been mostly me kind of talking bollocks.
No.
But yeah.
I mean, what we did.
I'm going to have to come on a sixth time just so we can actually talk about something on point.
But I think the fact that we come back around, we actually have our point. And we did talk, I mean, so Friday the 13th is legendarily, right, a bad luck day.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a good luck day for me.
Well, I've just choked on an iced bun, so...
An iced bun?
I don't know if that's a very British delicacy.
What is that?
Do you, have finger rolls? So it's... Oh, God, I'm trying to think of the American... Like baps. You know baps?
No.
Bread rolls.
Okay. Like hard rolls? Dinner rolls?
Not
sandwich
really,
rolls?
kind of hard, soft-ish.
Hoagie rolls.
Yeah, yes, that's it. Hoagie rolls.
Okay.
Something like that. It's basically that with icing on top.
Icing? What kind of icing?
Just plain vanilla icing.
Oh. Bread with vanilla icing?
That's what an iced bun is.
I really want one.
I won't immediately eat the one that I've got left. I will take a picture of it and send it to yourself.
Okay.
You know what it looks like.
I appreciate that. It's lunchtime, so
it's effectively like a long donut.
Huh. Okay, like a maple bar?
Yeah, let me have a look at what a maple bar is.
A maple. Well, I guess it's mapley, but it's like a long donut. But it's sweet.
Kind of, yeah, but it's a different pastry.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not completely covered. It's like a little bit of the top. I've just seen something called a Long John actually, which looks slightly more similar to what I'm trying to have a look, see if what the American equivalent would be, because it's all like the pastry is all the standard kind of like crispy pastry, you know, the crumbly stuff.
Is it sweet, the pastry itself?
No, it's just a roll.
Huh.
It's literally just a bread roll
with frosting on top.
With icing.
Huh.
Let me have a look. Iced buns. A Swiss bun. Iced finger. Something like that. Place of origin, United Kingdom. Of course it is. Only we could kind of look at a bread roll and go, do you know what that needs? Icing.
Well, I call that brilliance, okay? Because I'm a big bread fan. For those that can tolerate gluten, I recommend bread.
There's a recipe on the BBC website. I'm actually going to put that on your Facebook now so that, well, you just kind of get now bothered by iced buns and it's your new addiction.
That's awesome. I'm going to make it. I'll let you know. It sounds amazing.
Do you know what? I'm actually going to put it on so the listeners can see it as well. I'm actually going to put it on the Too Many Words website.
Awesome.
Facebook. As discussed, here is a recipe for iced buns.
So, listeners, if you want to know what an iced bun is and how to make it, you can go to Too Many Words on Facebook. Thank you, Oli.
It's not /Too Many Words. It's facebook.com/Too Many Words pod.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. There we go. I managed to plug it better. And my dog is literally nudging the MacBook for attention. So I think it's definitely time to...
Yes. Well, can you tell everybody where they can find you and your words?
Yes. Okay. So, if you're on the whole social media thing, I'm at facebook.com/OJBooks, Twitter at Oli Jacobs author. I'm currently crowdfunding my latest horror book, Deep Down There. You can find that at unbound.com/deep-down-there. Otherwise, search for me on Amazon, Oli Jacobs, OLIJACOBS, or yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. As always, this was a lot of fun.
An absolute pleasure as always. I look forward to my 6th, 7th, or 8th appearance. I don't know.
I do as well. No, I think we should. Yeah.
Maybe we should do our own show.
There you go.
There we go.
We can stick to a topic.
So, as well as too many words. How many words?
Oh, there you go.
Or far too many words.
Endless words.
Constant verbiage.
What we can call it off-topic words, and then we're actually on topic by being off-topic.
I actually think off-topic works as a title.
It does.
Just off-topic. Oh, that must be a podcast.
That has to be. I was gonna.
In fact, I put off-topic, and the first thing that comes up is off-topic podcast.
There you go.
But it's Rooster Teeth. Damn you, Rooster Teeth.
Well, and that wraps it up for this week. Be sure to join the conversation on Twitter at me Bedingfield and the show at Too Many Words Pod. Same names on Facebook, and hop over to patreon.com/Too Many Words. All tiers have access to the Too Many Words Discord channel where we can chat writing and books and recipes for iced bread. Buns, iced buns.
Iced buns.
But thanks so much for tuning in. And before clicking away, let the others know what you think about the show by leaving a review. Until next time, over and out.